so fucking upset about the fact that she couldn't understand why she can't go over to Olaf and just get him. And I had to just kind of hold her back. And she was like, please, please. She was like freaking her mind out. I've never seen her like this.
Oh, this is
for
her
like the
biggest
next
freak
30
out
minutes.
of her
She was
life
like,
up to this
for the
point.
next 30 minutes, she was like, she was like out of her mind. So today we walked by it. We walked back by it today, and Olaf had been like deflated, and he was gone. And it was like we had crossed like a World War II memorial. Right when we got to the house, she just stopped mid-talk and just looked at the house and just gazed at it and just didn't say a word the whole time that we walked past the house. And then when we got finished with the house, she just kind of looked forward in the stroller and went, like it was unbelievable. The grief that this human being went through was unreal. How much she was so taken back by this Olaf. It was unbelievable.
You watched her become an adult in the like innocent way.
She's 1 year old.
I know what death's about.
She was like this. She was straight up like, no, you can't be this way.
There is no greater sadness.
Whatever a 10 is at a movie, like a 10 in the movie scenes when someone dies or is being pulled away or someone's being removed, that's what she was at. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable to watch. Fantastic. I was laughing so hard. And my wife was like, this is so sad. I was like, this is hilarious. Look at her go.
Another late night comedy show. Mike Perkins and Paul Brodo. We're the house band with all the show. Another late night podcast tonight.
With Mike Perkins.
What's up, guys? Real quick, it's Mike Perkins from another podcast tonight. Wanted to record this before we get into the episode. We got an amazing one for you. We had the amazing time interviewing one of the best guys that we know around town. He's incredible. He's an impressionist. He's a comedian. You might know him as Tad on another late show tonight. He always drops in and does stuff, and he's also done stand-up on our show. Mark Sipka, ladies and gentlemen. He's a great dude. I mean, I could hang out with that guy for hours. And basically what we did on the podcast was we talked for, I don't know, maybe 2 hours. We actually talked for 2 hours, and then we stopped recording and talked for like another hour because he's just one of the coolest dudes you'll ever meet in your life. So what we want to do, Mark was our second guest ever on the podcast, and we're going to do a two-parter of Mark Sipka. So this is part one of the interview with Mark Sipka. And if you don't know who Mark Sipka is, I mean, you're missing out, okay? This guy's incredible. He has a special, an amazing special, on Amazon Prime called My Special Family Special, Mark Sipka. And you can find him on Instagram at Mark Sipka, MarkSipka. And he does the awesome things called Tad Roast Movies on his YouTube page and everything else at Mark Sipka. But wanted to give that shout out at the top because we're going to make this a two-parter. So it's going to be great. I hope you guys love it. Thank you all for listening already to the podcast and giving us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and following us on Spotify, giving us a review, telling all your friends. You guys are amazing. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're staying safe. We love you. And thanks for listening. And this is the Mark Sipka episode part 1, ladies and gentlemen. So get right into it. This is like the Pete Holmes podcast. Get into it. All right, we're going to do, what's his sponsor thing he does? This is for, I don't know. I should have just stopped recording at that moment, but I wanted to say a sponsor that Pete Holmes usually does. He usually does Alpha Brain. Alpha Brain actually is amazing. Alpha Brain, if you want to be a sponsor for us, that'd be awesome because I take that stuff. It really does work for you. And he does one of these other ones, too, that he always upsells. Oh, Charlotte's Web. He's like, Charlotte's Web hemp oil. Anyway, get into it. But guys, enjoy. Thank you so much for listening. And this is Mark Sipka, part 1, baby.
Well, welcome back to another podcast tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here. We have our very special guest today. It's our second guest ever on the podcast, and we're so excited to have him. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Mark Sipka. ladies
Yes.
and gentlemen.
Yeah, baby. Number 2.
Number two.
Number 2,
You don't have to tell me
baby.
who number 1 was. I don't even want to know, but I'm just honored to be in the single digits. I feel good.
Oh yeah, baby. I wish we were live right now. Like we're on Zoom again, ladies and gentlemen, as you can tell from all of us sounding in different places. But I wish we could have had you live. We don't want to tell you the first guest, but we could tell you. It was Brian McDaniel, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
Come on.
Brian's great.
I know. But we had we were kind of recording in the patio at Loft Ensemble, and then LA got on lockdown again. So we've been just doing Zoom for this time being. But thanks for coming, man.
Of course. Thanks for having me, guys.
You're amazing.
I'm very excited that you're here. I got to be honest. I feel like
We're thrilled.
a little bit like Justin Timberlake's at our podcast.
Well, we're bringing sexy back, baby.
I'm a little bit of a teeny bopper for the Sipka. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I would sip whatever you're doing. I would sip your cup.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of variations of my name, mostly just mispronouncing the complicated 5 letters, but I've never heard somebody make my last name so dirty, Adam.
There you go. Oh, first thing I asked you was like, what can we talk about? First thing I said was, what can we talk about? He's like, I'm a clean comic. And I was like, well, how about I sip your cup? Like, let's
go right there.
Each time you say that, my Slovakian Sipka ancestors roll over in their graves, much like the cabbage rolls that my grandmother made, probably in the thousands over her lifetime. The disrespect you show my heritage is impressive.
It's impressive at this point.
Yeah.
Want to see how dirty I can get? Let me give me a name. Give me a name. That's it. Penis.
This is
Oh,
fun.
that's so funny.
I showed my wife today so many of your videos. I was like, this is the guy we're going to be talking to. He's so funny. And she was actually like, she at one point actually was crying. She was laughing so hard. So
What?
That's no joke. Even my kid, I was like, you got to see him in a Tad Roth movie. And like, and she was like, even my kid was like, like she was this guy's funny.
That's so
She was
cool.
all sad. She was all sad from the Olaf thing, and then she's like, "I'm back
Yeah.
again."
It's like, this guy's funny. This guy sounds funny, and his vest is just too adorable. Yeah, we should tell what you do. Can you give us kind of an understanding of like what is it, besides being a comic, what do you kind of do generally in the things that you've been doing?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm an actor and stand-up comedian, and I love making like comedy videos. So I've done that probably since I was in college. I was in a sketch group in college that I started with some buddies called Business Casual, and that's where I started making my own stuff. We would make original videos, and then we would also do live shows, and we would sort of alternate. So we do like a live sketch, show a video, go behind the screen, change for the next sketch, right? So like that was really where it all started, and then started posting stuff on YouTube. And then, yeah, ever since it's been a fun challenge to like just create original comedy videos on whatever platform. But then also just a couple years ago, sort of trying to do like my first big project, which was the stand-up special I did called My Special Family Special. That's on Prime. And it's where I roast my family with them on stage. So that was really fun to sort of do something outside of the box from what
where did you do that? Where did you do that special? Like, where did you organize that?
I had been doing my own like live variety show called Mark Sipka's Comedy Review, and I was doing it at the
in LA?
Lyric Hyperion. Oh, yeah. That's where I used to perform.
Yeah, nice.
And so I loved how intimate and up close the crowd was. So when I had the idea for the special, I was like, we got to do it here. That way everybody's up close, and my parents and my brothers and my sister-in-law can all be on a couch like 3 feet away from me, and everybody can see their reactions. So when we shot it there, it was nice because it was really tight, and you could watch my dad. Somebody said, I was right behind your dad, and I could tell how embarrassed he was by the redness level of his bald spot changing. It was a tell.
I've seen your special, and it's very, very funny.
Oh, thank you so
Now-
much, Sean. I
Now,
appreciate
since
it, man.
you were doing it like that with your family's reaction, I imagine you got one take at it. You only did it once, or did
Did it
you do it?
once.
Yeah.
Just once. So it was just a fun thing to go for. You know, I think for me with a special, nobody's like, oh, Mark Sipka put out a special. Gotta check this out. I think it's the only thing I had going for me was like, you know, I've never seen somebody like roast their own family with them like right there. And that was really the stuff that I loved, especially in my beginnings of stand-up. Like my first stand-up set ever at an open mic was like 5 straight minutes about my dad. That was it. Like the jokes were just him. And so getting to do those was so interesting because a lot of the jokes and stories that I did weren't ones that had ever been like performed before. But when my family gets together, we sort of share like, hey, that was a really stupid thing you said or a really stupid thing you did. We sort of like laugh at each other's worst moments whenever we're together. And that's sort of like our love language is like, hey, remember how stupid you were? And so it was so interesting being like, this is the first time I'm doing them in front of people, because it wasn't like I could go to another comedy show and be like, hey, you guys mind if I do like an hour just about my family? And not happening.
It's gonna run some time, right?
Yeah. So it was just a fun thing to take on.
That's what I love that. I loved it so much seeing that because there was so much heart in it too. Like where like we felt like watching it, you feel like you're at like the family dinner table and you guys are just kind of talking to each other because it's inside jokes, but it's inside jokes that we can all relate to, you know, because you're just it's a whole roller coaster of just like, you know, it's funny, it's heartfelt, it's everything. And, you know, I loved every minute of it, man. I thought it was really great. It was such a cool thing that you did. Because like you said, nobody has ever done that before.
How did you two meet? Because we met Mark because of you. So how did you two meet?
Oh my gosh. Mike, do you remember?
How could I forget, man? How could I forget that day? I was the booker at Flappers for that short amount of time. And I was doing the auditions, and Mark came to the audition and just fucking blew it away. Just murdered it. It was just like, he's the only, I mean, usually comics come in with like, you know, they're wearing like not even a t-shirt half the time. Mark's in his 3-piece suit, just like his suit and everything, and just crushes it with the one with y'all gonna make me lose my mind.
Oh yeah, the Southern mom yelling at her kid with DMX lyrics.
And yeah, I mean that, like, I think I pulled you aside and I was like, dude, you're incredible. You have to do Uncle Clyde's, you know, comedy competition, and just everything, and just take over this club. And it just, I mean, and then you roll, and then we were really great friends ever since, man. You know?
Yeah, man, you were the best. I mean, that was honestly, I think that might have been like my first time stepping into Flappers. I think in my stand-up experience out here, I'm sure like a lot of us too, it's like the clubs feel like almost a separate world in so many ways. Like you feel like I'm doing a bunch of shows, but how do I get through these walls? And I do appreciate that about certain clubs or venues where they actually open it up so you can perform and show them what you can do. But that was just so cool getting to meet you. And you guys all know Mike, like nobody in this business oftentimes comes like as comedian to comedian is like, hey, you're really great. And it means a lot, even though you're like, I don't know this guy, but I think it means more because I don't know him, that this stranger takes the time to go, hey, you're really great. And it means a lot too, you know? So I appreciated you doing that, because that was also sort of my impression of the whole place, being like, oh, this is really cool. These people are actually like caring about the up and comers or the people that have been doing stand up for a while, but just haven't been to the club. I think a lot of times the clubs sort of like have the arms crossed mentality where it's like, well, your name or your face isn't on our wall, so you're not a real comedian, right?
Yeah.
I get that.
And I keep putting my face on all the walls too. It always ends up coming down somehow. I don't know. It just always take them down. But that's
put
what's
more
crazy.
staples in those headshots.
Yeah, just screw them in. I got a drill. I'm just like, here you go. But that's what's so crazy too, is because you've gone through the improv circuit of it all. You were you were at iOS for a while with Space Jam, right? Was that iOS?
So we did do a show there our main run was at Second City. So Second City did this thing called the Thunderdome cage match.
Gotcha.
And that's where like the audience would vote for which team, like two teams would battle it out 20 minutes each, and the audience would vote for their favorites. So that's where we were doing our run for a while.
Gotcha. And that's what's so crazy. We didn't meet all this time that you were just, we're both in improv and stand up. And like you said, the different clubs, and you're just like, you're kind of like, whoa, we never met before, like it's a weird small world where you can just kind of meet people,
Yeah. Yeah, that is pretty crazy. We were a part of the improv, the sketch, and the stand-up worlds, but never ended up mixing. I think that's so strange, because I feel like the more you dive in there, the smaller the town sort of feels, and you start running into the same people over and over again.
Yeah.
How old are you, Mark? How old are you, if you don't want me
I just turned 31 this year.
31. You look 19, but
Appreciate that.
So when you had moved out to LA, what year was that?
That would have been 2012, summer of 2012. So I graduated college in May of 2012, and then packed everything up back.
And what college was that?
Anderson University. It's a small college in northern Indiana.
You were doing acting there and the stuff, though. I would imagine.
So I went there for their acting program, and then I quickly learned, like, oh, this is for people who like want to work in theater, like at the theater. And I was like, oh, there's a big difference between like these guys knew like plays and stuff. I didn't know any of that. I've never been like a play guy. I'm like, William Shakespeare. Geez, that guy could summarize. You know what I'm talking about? Just tell me what's on your mind, Bill. All right, you fancy
Pick
word.
it up.
So I literally stood at like a
too big or not too big.
thing.
What are you doing?
In like 3 minutes, Shakespeare in the Park. I was like, honestly, I'm out, guys. I got nothing here. Nothing's going on. I don't know who anybody is. So I quickly realized, like, okay, this theater is not for me. And so after that first semester, I was like, well, I still want to stay at this school. I also want to graduate within 4 years. And so I changed my major a couple of times. Ended up being like a speech major, because there wasn't like a film acting program. Looking back, I wish I had just dove into like being a film major, because I feel like I had to end up learning all of that on my own anyway.
Yeah.
While I was
particularly over the last year, everyone has become a filmmaker.
Yeah, that's right, man.
I know, yeah.
That's right. And so while I was there, I joined an improv team, and then I started doing stand-up in Indianapolis at a comedy club there, and then I started the sketch group Business Casual with my buddies. And I felt like, okay, there's still like resources here. There's still stages I can perform at. And I knew LA was always going to be, like, after graduation, that's the goal. So I sort of geared everything I did towards that, and was just like trying to do as much outside of class to be prepared for coming out here.
Did you move out with those? You started Business Casual in college. Did you move out here with those guys, or?
I moved out here with one of my best buddies, Trent Bruce, and he was one of the members of Business Casual. And when we were out here, we continued making those videos. And my buddy Frank lived out here for a bit too. He was a member for a while. And we, within about the first month or two, established, okay, we're making a new video every week. And we kept it up for, for like a year or two, that sketch grind. And in like 2014, Trent and I ended the group. But it was a really good run and a good challenge to sort of slowly upgrade, right? And like I still remember, our first video ever, it took all day long, way too many pages, and shot it in the most complicated, stupid way. Took forever editing it, and it turns out to be like one of your worst videos, right? And by the end, you're like, all right, we're shooting 4 sketches in one day. We actually are using a real camera person with separate sound. I didn't know the concept of separate audio until about a year or two in. I was like, but I don't know how the sound gets recorded if it's on the camera. I still remember a buddy out here who watched some of our videos and was like, I really love the Business Casual style, like how everything just looks so crappy. And I was like, yeah, we totally meant to do that.
Has nothing to do with budget.
Has nothing to do.
Dude, who's your editor that makes it so crappy looking? You're like,
iMovie? Yeah, he's the best. We're using this, like, opposite of HD Handycam camcorder with like mini DV tapes that I had used for my paper route
dude.
money. And I was like, I don't even know. Like, there's videos. If you look up business casual comedy, watch some of our first videos. It is like YouTube doesn't recognize the resolution. It looks like a surveillance camera in a 7-Eleven shot half of our videos where we're like, it is terrible, man.
Oh, it's so
You
funny.
used what you had.
That's right. And it was fun. You know, you like get those muscles strong. And then by the time we hired like buddies to shoot it, we were like, oh, that's what our face looks like. Whoa, like different angles. Whoa, we don't have to shoot videos in one take. Like it just sort of opened up all these more possibilities and just
So funny.
learning how to edit yourself and all of that stuff. I don't know.
What brought on like the wearing the suits? When did you were like, I'm gonna wear suits and be a classy dude that goes out and does stand up and does kind of stands up? Because I'll be honest with you, man, when we did that first show with you with Mike and you came out and did your thing and then you talked and stuff, every once in a while you'll see a comedian and you'll do a show with somebody and you're like, that person should just be famous. What the fuck is taking so long? Like, what the fuck is happening? And it's not because, I'm smart enough and I've done this long enough to know that like, that's also just not how this works. Like, not like that I'm going to, because that's like the stupid question. Like my mom's always like, why weren't you in Twilight? Sean and I talk about that all the time, right? Our moms have always been like, why weren't you guys in Twilight? Like, and we're like, that's not how it works, Mom.
That's just
like,
I wrote a letter and they didn't get back to me. You know?
Exactly. There's just some magical door that's like, this is the Jurassic Park starring door or something like that, right?
I sent him a video on my Sony handheld, but they didn't want to.
The question isn't about like, why aren't you famous yet? Because that's ridiculous. It's I just thought, I was like, this guy is so awesome. This guy has something that's so, his energy, and he's hot and he's got this good vibe and he's got this cool, he's doing something that's a little bit throwback and he's doing impressions and he's doing all these different characters and he's just got this wild amount of energy. Then I've seen you do just like more standard stand up, but that same authenticity still carries through. When were you like, I want to do the suit thing and kind of bring it back to that sort of classy vibe out of curiosity?
I mean, I think that just sort of stems back to me in middle school. Really, it was a weird split, like 5th or 6th grade. I still remember like I was always listening to the radio and I really loved it. And it makes sense. It was like probably 2000, 2001 around there. And I remember listening to the radio and being like, I hate all of this. I hate all this. This music is bad. I just been listening to the radio for the past hour. They play the same song 3 times. I don't really like this stuff. I don't get it. And I remember, I don't remember what I saw first. I think I saw like Elvis in a movie, or I saw like a highlight of Elvis, and he was like singing and dancing, and he looked so weird and so cool at the same time. And I remember being like, who is this guy? And I went and bought Elvis's 30 number 1 hits and the Beatles 27 number 1 hits. And it like blew up my whole world into just loving all these artists and bands from like the 20s and 30s to the 90s, you know? And so I think that influenced the movies I watched. It influenced the music I listened to, and it really influenced my clothes too. And I was raised, my family, we loved going to Goodwill. I loved it as a kid because I was like, oh, this is the place where we get to my parents would have a ritual. We would donate stuff and then we would just go right back inside and buy a bunch of more crap. It was great. And before then, my parents, you know, they got 3 boys, money doesn't grow on trees. So they would take us into toy stores. They would have us play with the toys and then be like, all right, put them back. Let's go home. And so I would play with like, so funny. I'd play with like a Batman action figure and he'd still be like tied down with zip ties. And I'd be like, oh, this guy's so cool. Wow. I bet it's really fun. I bet these arms move. And so regular toy stores, I was like, this is just where we play with them. We don't get to take them home. So Goodwill was awesome.
It's so funny.
And we would go there and I loved all these old clothes, and my brothers always wore Goodwill stuff too. So I was always looking up to them. But I still remember the first like cool suit. I still have the suit. My brother got it for me for Christmas. It was like this butterscotch 3-piece suit.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
Say no fucking
Yes.
more.
bell bottoms. Dude, it was killer. Bell bottoms and everything, man. And I loved wearing that suit. And as a guy, you know, there's not a lot of stuff. There's not a lot of like clothes that like make a guy feel cool and good. You know, for me, I'm like leather jacket and suits. You know, I think
totally.
Yeah.
the more our bodies are covered, the better. And so
Yeah.
I bought different suits and old tuxedos that, you know, grandpas died in, you know, and it was just I
This smells
love
like
the looks
World
of
War
them.
II.
This smells like it. It's still got his old butt dust cooked into the pants. And I loved wearing them. And so like in college especially, I would wear suits just regularly. Like for a test, I'd wear a full tuxedo.
Fantastic.
For a couple reasons. I had read that that if you dress really well, you know, for like if you're giving a speech in class or you're taking a test, you'll oftentimes do better. And I also felt that way about like job interviews and all that stuff. But I also was like, oh, this is a little uncomfortable, so I won't fall asleep in class, because I also was like staying up
that's
late,
funny.
getting up really early. And I got a job my junior and senior year. And my senior year, I was the person who made announcements at our schools. Like we at school assemblies, like chapel. That's what it was. You had chapel 2 times a week.
Okay.
And usually before then, people would get up sort of like half-heartedly, like give the announcements of events that were taking place at school. So when I got there, everybody hated chapel announcements. People used to boo them. People used to just never listen and talk through them. And when I did it, I was like, this is going to be like my show. So I had a little desk wheeled out there. I wore full suits every time, and I would do like different bits. I had one called Bible verses, where I read Justin Bieber quotes as if they were biblical. One of them was like, this is Bieber's world, you're just living in it. I had one segment called like Spotlight on Stupidity, which mostly featured people from Florida and like crazy stories where a woman thought she was a vampire and bit a guy's face off, you know. And I had one segment
Classic
called
Florida.
Look at That Puppy,
Yeah.
where I would just project on the giant screen like a picture of a sweet little golden retriever and just say, look at that puppy. Next segment, you know. And it was just fun. It was fun. I had a theme song that I came out to, wearing the suit, feeling good. And I started doing, there was like these variety shows, music shows, where you could perform with a live band. And they did them like 3 or 4 times a year. It was called Encore. And it was really cool. So you could
That's
be
one of the
in
ones
it.
I watched today. I watched
Really?
that stuff today. I was watching. You did Elvis. You did AC/DC. You performed with a few different people, and I was like, "Where the hell was this?"
Dude,
was
blown
like
away. Yeah.
Yeah.
multi-camera thing happening with a band and everything like that.
Oh, see that? Like, I miss doing that. Like,
Yeah, I bet.
I feel like a lot of actors and comedians out here, like if we had the choice and the ability, we would love to be like rock stars, right? And I
Yeah.
I want to be Adam Chambers. That's who I want to be.
What's it like?
Just he
having
pulls
it
up.
all?
Just showing his chest all the time.
reason. Yeah, 50% of the reason for the band is to become rock stars.
Oh yeah, yeah. You guys are doing it. You guys are doing it, and you guys. I've told you before. What I love about you guys is it's a mix of like being really funny, but also with musical comedy. A lot of times, the actual musical and singing ability gets left out. But you guys are like, no, we're gonna kill it at both. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think that's why we liked each other when we met each other. We were like, "You're in a suit. We're in a suit. You rock.
Yeah.
We rock."
And Mike was in a suit. Like everybody in that show was in a suit.
Mike was in a suit. Yeah.
Now I have to ask. Everybody knows from like this whole conversation. You've obviously been creating a lot of characters for a long time. One of our favorites is a certain movie guy named Tad, and people. know about him, but I want to ask. Part of the thing is with Tad, yeah, he does love a particular movie, but you talk about a ton of movies on the cuff often. So are you an incredible cinephile? Like, do you watch movies all the time? Because I've seen people throw out any title and you'll give 2 or 3 quips about them, sometimes remarkably specific, like knowing the score and who wrote the score of a movie.
Look, I know what you're getting at here.
You're getting to Rudy.
John, I want you to know Rudy is one of my top 10 favorite movies. Openly weep. And as Rudy's dad said, this is one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen. And Jerry Goldsmith's
caught him
soundtrack.
on a good one. We caught him on a good one.
Oh, yes. I weep. Like, I've been watching it since I was in junior high. I've probably seen that movie 200 times.
Dude, it's perfect. The music, if you do not openly weep to Rudy getting accepted into college and running across campus, you have no soul, no
Who's
heart.
the wild man now?
Oh! And then he raises his finger. They raise him off stage. I mean, off field. It's beautiful, man. And so, I mean, that one was so inspiring to me because I'm a Midwest kid. I got, like, I'm tiny. I'm the little guy. I'm the underdog. I play football. I could be Rudy.
I like sports.
I like sports. Saying it to somebody as a kid because I honestly wanted to be a professional football player for way too long of a time. Like, it was until like midway through high school when I realized how stupid and unattainable that goal was.
Did you play football in high school?
I played football every year from like 3rd grade through senior year.
Really?
Like organized football.
Oh yeah, I loved
wow.
football. I was a running back. I was a tiny little running back out there. And dude, I loved playing, and I really, when people said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was like, I'm going to be a professional football player. If that doesn't work, I'll probably fall back to baseball. If not that, probably professional skateboarder. Nothing about my body indicates any level of athletic activity.
Elite athleticism.
A lot of people are like, you got to
look. If I can't make a touchdown, I'm doing a kick flip. I'll tell you that much. All right, that's what I'm done.
Oh man, but I remember going to like the University of Michigan football camp and seeing everybody there just like gigantic. They felt huge to me. And I remember watching the coaches recruiting, like sort of like bringing kids to the side and being like, hey, you ever thought about coming to Michigan? And I was like, yeah, this isn't going to happen for me. I like looked at my family tree and was like, oh, the tallest person is my brother Steve. He's 5'10", like 150. It's not happening.
That's so fun.
I remember the first time I played basketball, because I was like super into basketball all through high school and the whole thing. And then I remember and I was like, am I going to be a professional basketball player? And I remember the first time we went and traveled and we played Black Eyes. And I was like, I'm not going to be a professional basketball player because I'm not black. And I'm definitely not going to do this on a professional level. Like, these dudes were dunking and they were like sophomores. And I was like, what the hell is this game they're playing? This isn't basketball.
How quickly our dreams die.
Yeah. Yes. I remember I was like somewhere like in Downey. I'd like traveled on a bus, and then I remember in Downey when those dreams died. I was like, nope, that's not gonna be for me.
It's not me.
That's so funny. You can always go to Porto's and Downey's though, Porto's right in Downey. That's where dreams go to die, but they feel better with the
yeah, eat it away with a potato ball, you feel it.
I remember freshman year of high school because I was such a big Adam. We talked about that before too. It was like I was such a big wrestling fan, like just like WWF and WWE and stuff. And like me and my buddy we should sign up for the wrestling team freshman year. And then we went to the first practice, and I was like, I didn't even wrestle. I was like, I'm not doing this. You can't do anything. Where's the chairs at? I want to hit someone with a chair.
Where's the chairs
This
at?
is crazy.
Where's the elbow drop? Where's the elbow drop?
Yeah, what the hell?
I love that you were like the one kid who quit the wrestling team because of false advertising. About real wrestling?
Does Vince McMahon ever come here to scout talent?
Hold on, you mean to tell me there's no turnbuckles here?
Yeah. So
Don't
funny.
Where are all the belts? Where are the belts?
Man, but Sean, I think, yeah, I with movies, dude, I've never
Because
considered
I've seen
myself-
you actually have people
Do this.
call out
yeah.
movies in the crowd, and you've quipped all of them, not just insanely knowing Rudy.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I really did always love movies ever since like watching them as a kid with my brothers and my family. Like that was just something I always loved doing. And I dove into more of them as I got older. And I think it's a mix of like my love for movies and love for like playing characters and improv. It's like a mix of all my favorite worlds. So when I get to be Tad, who just gets to be mean because I'm wearing glasses and a Wizard of Oz sweatshirt,
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
it's so fun to be like a confident nerd. Just because I feel like we don't get to see like a confident nerd sort of a lot of people view him as a bully. You could view it as that. I don't know why. But
He's
like
so rude.
it is fun as Tad when somebody it's a fun challenge when somebody throws out a movie like Rudy, which I love, and I have
And so you
to
could just
absolutely
murder and slay.
Yeah, you can, yeah,
I have to.
dude.
And a lot of times when people throw out movies they think are better, they try to trick me, or they oftentimes say like their favorite movies. So some people do get upset. But like I discovered when I roasted Return to Oz, a lot of people try to like trick Tad with Return to Oz. Which
Oh
was,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
this
I remember.
80s movie, which I had to learn facts about because I had never seen it. I knew it had claymation in it, and it stars Fairuza Balk, who later goes on to star in The Water
Yeah.
Boy. With,
Hell yeah.
so I just sort of focused.
Vicky
on my
Valancourt.
emphasis
Vicky
on that.
Valancourt was in it.
Yeah.
Vicky,
I was
yeah.
like, oh, you mean it stars the young Hollywood actress who would later go on to be Vicky Valancourt in Waterboy? Yeah, she can fill Judy Garland's Ruby Reds. Okay. It's so fun. And I sort of, when I posted it, awoke like this angry underworld of Return to Oz loyalist diehard fans who were did not understand the Tad humor, and B, honestly thought Return to Oz was like the greatest gift to movies. And I'm doubling down as Tad. It's not Wizard of Oz, therefore it's garbage and does not belong as a movie. And I think with Tad, it's so fun to play him because he's got a one-track mind. It does not matter the movie. Wizard of Oz is his number one love, and that's it. That's final. So I almost feel like because I've given that character so much of a boundary and fenced him in so tight that it feels like he can't fail up there no matter what movie you throw at me. And there are times where somebody throws a movie out that I haven't seen, but maybe I know like one actor,
An actor,
and I just roast them. Or I do like Tad. I got to put together a compilation of the amount of stupid Tad puns, like Forrest Gump, more like Forrest Dump. Oh, Citizen Kane, more like Citizen Lame. You know? There's so many ones I have not seen and just have to sort of go off of that.
Yeah. When you started
The
doing
Christmas
Tad
shoes
roast
one.
movies, oh oh my God, yeah, the Christmas shoes
Christmas
was
shoes.
so
That's
funny.
one I just showed my wife. Christmas shoes. Christmas shoes is not only a movie; it's a book and and an even worse song. Like it's just unbelievable.
That one helped because I actually highly disliked that movie and that song. Everything about it.
It all's good because it's all bad. Yeah. How long has Tad been like a thing? Like how long have you been like how did he come about? That's a big question. That was like my number one question today was how did you come up with Tad and like when did it all start?
So it started with a trip to Goodwill in college.
Good.
With a trip to Goodwill in
As
college.
always.
I picked up this white sweatshirt that has a half-hearted sketch drawing of the Wizard of Oz cast on it. I bought it and I put that thing in a suitcase for a long time and didn't even wear it, didn't even think anything of it. And then I moved out here and didn't do with it, didn't use it. And in like 2016, 2017, they were doing like a recasting, a reboot of In Living Color. And I put together an audition tape of a bunch of characters and a bunch of impressions. And I was making it and I was like, I'd like to add one or two more. And so
Original ones.
This suitcase, original ones. I was going through the suitcase and I opened it up and I saw the sweatshirt and I just held it up and I just went, Wizard of Oz. I was like, I mean, I could do 15 seconds. It's a guy who loves Wizard of Oz. That's it. So I threw on some stupid glasses. I parted my hair over and I just did it. And I had a friend, one of my friends made me a dickie. Do you guys know what a dickie is? It's like a fake turtleneck.
Oh, yes.
70s, I think.
Uncle Eddie wore one in Christmas Vacation.
Eddie, that's right. That's right. And you can see completely through it because he's wearing a white see-through sweater. And it's just a lazy way of wanting the turtleneck look, but not the turtleneck heat. Really innovative.
Yeah.
And a friend had sent one to me. All she did was just cut a turtleneck thing off, and I put that on underneath it. And I was like, oh, this will be fun. So I added like a 10 or 15 second thing in the video. And then I was doing my comedy review show at Lyric Hyperion, and I wanted to come out and try this original character. So I researched some Wizard of Oz facts. I wrote some down, memorized it, like how long the movie is, when the movie was made, the director, all that stuff. And then I sort of came up with like Tad's reasons for loving it, like his deep philosophical meaning behind it. And then I was like, and then at the end, I'll open up the floor so that anybody else could throw out movies that they think are better. And I honestly, it's not like I think each character I do is going to be a hit, but I genuinely, before walking out on the stage, was like, this could probably be like my worst character. Like this could probably be, he has one layer. He has one layer and he loves Wizard of Oz and that's it. There's nothing to him. And it ended up just being so much fun to go out there and play him.
There's so many layers to him.
But it's so
but
good.
It's also it's like an onion at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's such a simple, like, kind of like this guy loves Wizard of Oz. He hates every other movie. That's it. And then, like,
that's it.
You know, it's
Do
incredible.
you think, I was going to ask you this. I have to ask you, do you think Tad is gay?
Okay, I've heard people say this. I've heard people say this just based purely on his voice, body movement, and everything about him.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, do we think he's gay? And I was like, I got to ask him this question. It would be stupid if I didn't ask him.
I've honestly never considered that or like had that in mind. Like when I was doing the voice, it was more just like, it'd be fun to hear somebody who's like, not just got a lisp, but they're like really confident too. Like they're mean.
Yeah.
And so I just sort of did that because the voice was funny. But I honestly don't know if Tad has an interest in other human beings.
To be honest.
He is, if anything, he is Oz sexual. That's it. He just wants to sleep with that movie in all formats to make more copies of it. I think
God, that's so
attraction.
The only woman for me is Dorothy, and there's no place like home.
I'd like to click those heels.
God, it's so funny to me. The character
An Oz-sexual.
An Oz-sexual.
I think there's just something fun, and you guys get it from like being in the comedy world of like writing your own stuff, performing live, interacting with the crowds. I really loved doing that. You know, it's going back to what we did as kids. You know, you dress up, you put on the goofy wig, you put on a goofy costume or whatever, and you're somebody else. And you're sort of, there's like a power that comes from it. It's a false power, and
for sure
one that I think people give you. You know, they're like, oh, it's somebody else. I can talk to this other person, and it's so fun to see other audience members sort of become kids too and buy into it and play along. I think that's what I love is when people get it and they just play along. And so like I've done that with other characters in the past. Like I play a character named Agnes Fontana, who's this old lady and I was like, I'm gonna do this old lady who's like a motivational grandma, and I'm gonna give her like the worst life, like the worst backstory. Like she's
Yeah.
gonna have a bunch of husbands and they all died. She's got what I like to say. I've got a rare form of surface level butt cheek cancer, so the doctors had to cut my butt cheeks off. So, gentlemen, if you feel like getting frisky, don't even bother reaching down there because the register's empty. So feisty, and then at the end, I just open it up and let the audience. I say, you're all my grandkids. I couldn't have any grandkids because my children all drank Surge, even though I warned them it would kill their sperm. You're all my grandkids, and then I give them like this like grandmotherly advice.
Surge in the 90s.
Oh,
so funny.
Everyone heard those rumors. 8 Mountain Dews a day.
Every 90s mom was like, Yellow 5? Goodbye, grandbabies.
Oh, that's so funny. I love it. I love that you took Tad to like the YouTube like Tad roast movies. It's just like it's such a great thing for you to kind of have for that content that you kind of you can build and just keep growing from it. It's amazing.
Thanks, man. It's definitely been fun just getting to create more regular stuff with Tad, and the ultimate goal is to do a special as Tad. I think it would be called like Tad Talk, and it would be Tad presenting The Wizard of Oz as a TED Talk,
Yes.
breaking down why the movie is the greatest, just breaking it all down as factual, and then of course opening it up to the floor and destroying anybody in the audience who thinks otherwise. So that's my goal for like a Tad special. That's what I want to
God.
I need to see that.
Green light. Green light. Do it.
Green light.
Do it. 2021, baby.
Totally.
Oh my God, that's amazing. That's so funny.
It'd be fun.
Tad is amazing because like the first time that I saw Mark as Tad, I thought Tad was the person. And I was like, because I walked in like mid-set and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, man, this guy really loves Oz. I want to talk to him afterwards. I got to pick his brain. And then Mark just walks up and he's like, hey, how you doing? And I was like, the fuck happened to the guy you were up there?
That's awesome, Paul. I didn't know that. So much of me, I'm like, oh, of course people know this is a character, but I'm learning more and more. That's just not true. I was like, this guy, I didn't think anything was realistic about Tad whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I love that you thought that was the real me.
Well, I've seen people out here that are like passionate about stuff like that. So I just assumed that this was just a guy who loved Wizard of Oz. No, it was an act. I was like, wow.
He was actually kind of let down to meet you.
It's makes total sense. It's and I'm just the guy who thinks the Wizard of Oz it's all right. What's fun about that? Really?
Paul's room is filled with Wizard of Oz memorabilia, and he's like, finally someone else,
Like,
he's like
I'm
me.
actually a return to Oz.
This guy gets it. I think what's fun is if there's anything relatable about Tad, it's that I hope we all have at least like one thing that we are so diehard about that if somebody brings it up, we will go to fight like to the death for it. Like for me, there's like a few of these things, obviously like family and wife and all, all that boring stuff. Yeah. It's like Dumb and Dumber is the greatest movie of all time. Little Caesar's Pizza is the best deal in food business. The Detroit Lions will go to the Super Bowl. Elvis Presley was sent from heaven above to grace us with. Like there are things that like if you bring up and fight me on, I will battle you. And I think everybody should have at least one of those things, right? Like what are some of those things you guys would go to fight for?
I can't wait to hear these answers, but you're totally right. It's that cocky nerd thing. It's when you go to it's the guys at the conventions that you're like, that dude is arguing with that dude about Babylon 5 right now. That dude is like going to work on like series season
Yeah.
3
Like,
of Babylon
raising
5.
his voice.
That dude is raising his voice about some weird shit right now. Like, for me, wrestling, like Mike was saying, I don't necessarily think a lot of people would know that about me just meeting me, but I'm a big wrestling fan. So like, if it comes up with certain, then there's topics within the wrestling, of course, like who's the best and all those things. And I'm like, nope, it's not an option. So those are, for me, wrestling for sure. I'd get nerdy about. Perkins.
That's a fun world.
Mine, well, my favorite movie of all time is Back to the Future. So I'm a big, the whole trilogy thing. And when people make fun of Michael J. Fox stuff, I'm like, you fucking shut your fucking mouth, okay? Don't you fucking do it, shit. All right. Everything, but Back to the Future is a perfect movie, so there's no need to argue. So
It is perfect.
there's no need. There's no need to bring Tad into this. There's no reason. I think that would be mine. I think that and like mob movies.
Oh, I love a good mob movie, man.
Yeah.
Well, you want to get in on that? You got anything that?
About to go full Brando. Star Wars. I'm a big Star Wars fan. Batman. The fact that Shakespeare in Love, it was an atrocity that beat Saving Private Ryan for best film. The Academy Awards. I still don't fucking understand how that was a possible thing. And I've watched them. I've been like, how? You sit here. You had to be paid off, sucked off. Something had to have happened here behind the scenes. There's no
Sounds
fucking.
like you just pulled the scab off right now.
I got into an argument with someone about this in college, and I was like, get the fuck out of here. And they're like, no. Shakespeare in Love, it was a love story. It was Gwyneth Paltrow. I was like, motherfucker, I watched the entire squad die in that movie. I watched Milish get that knife put into his fucking chest, and I felt like it was mine. Shut the fuck. I could just keep going on. But yeah, so those are...
Who here would kill to watch like Paul and his college roommate being like, Shakespeare in Love is the best. Have you seen Tommy Hanks in Saving Private? Did you not? He's on the beach on Normandy. Shakespeare can't even talk good.
This whole time, I thought that old man at the end was Tom Hanks. Could you believe what the fuck happened to me when I found out it was Matt fucking Damon? Get the fuck out of here. I was crying. I was beside myself.
Oh man.
What about you, Sean?
Magic.
Yeah, I got a handful of things that I'll kind of talk some razzmatazz on. I know I like soccer a lot. Love soccer. Love the U.S. national soccer team. Love MLS. The whole 9 yards. So when people start talking like soccer's not a sport, and then we'll have some words. That one's the easiest. I love magic too, the art of magic. And so kind of getting people to understand what it is they're seeing is I enjoy. Because some people like either have no idea what it is or assume it's something way different than it is.
Mark, I don't know if you've seen it, but Sean is actually amazing at magic. It's actually pretty unbelievable.
Dude, I did not know this, and I've never gotten to see this. Like, do you
it's
go
actually
and do
cool.
shows around
Have you
town?
been on one of our shows?
Yeah. I've done some stuff. Like, well, one of my jobs I've supported myself with, like, since I've been in LA, is I've performed at kids' birthday parties, and I've always
Mark,
done.
He's a member of the Magic
shows.
Castle. He's a member
You're
of
a
the
Magic
Magic
Castle guy?
He had to like
I'm a
audition
Magic
and
Castle
shit.
member.
He had
That
to audition
place-
and shit.
That is like, that place is probably the coolest place that I've been to, probably ever. But like when I've taken my family there, they speak about that like that was just one of the coolest things they've ever gotten to do. That is so awesome that you're in there, man.
Oh,
Like,
it's a bucket list kind of destination. It's a very cool place.
that's
It's fun to take people too, because you're describing it great.
I totally see. I think what's cool is you guys all talked about essentially worlds that you are obsessed with, right? Like each one of their own right is its own world
Thing, yeah.
and I just think like each one is so unique, and I think those whether someone's a fan of it or not, I respect whoever is like a world creator. So like a thing like the Magic Castle, I mean, soccer sucks, but like the Magic Castle, dude. You need to name a third thing so I can decide if I want to be friends. That place is so.
What a burn.
The World
How
Cup
cool
is
is
the
it?
greatest thing in all of sports.
That World Cup is half empty, my friend.
Yeah.
The other half is with my feces.
Everybody becomes a soccer fan
Oh,
once
shit.
every 4 years.
Oh fuck!
But
Go.
I think it's so cool because you get to see it. I mean, you're getting to do it at kids' parties, but you're also getting to do it at the Magic Castle at the highest level. And you get to watch people essentially become kids in front of your own eyes, because right now we're in this time where we have all the answers. We know where to find them all. You know, we sort of like to spoil all the surprises. And it is so cool to be in a room with grown adults and watching somebody do something and being like, oh, wow, like, how did he do that? It's so cool to see everybody just like not know something together.
Dude, Sean blows my mind every time he does
Mhm.
something. He's done stuff on the Zoom show called This Magic Moment with Sean Dury. A couple like a quick magic trick, but when you see it live, I mean, even on the Zoom, it blows your mind. But like I've seen him still. I talk about it. It was 2 years ago. You bent that it went into a number. It was whatever it was. It fucking blew my mind. You had like that piece of I don't know, it wasn't a paper clip. It was like metal or something, and you bent it into the shape of it was just, I don't know how you did it. It was crazy.
Oh, into like the shape of your card?
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
you're like, you had the 9 of diamonds, right? Well, check it out. It like turned into. It was crazy.
So
That's fun.
Sean, this is in reality for a lot of people, magic is a fairly newer thing in the general state for Sean, considering I've been friends with him for more than half my life, and this has been for what, Sean, last like
Yeah, this is like 3
4
years.
4 years,
about
something like that.
4 years, yeah.
That's it?
And we're talking
Wow.
like zero before this, right? We're talking like
Yeah.
zero, right? And so being like his best friend in the early stages of this, there was an often like I'm gonna show you tricks, like he was learning shit and he would just kind of do something, and I was all for it, and I was all in. I remember one time we'd finished a show at Loft and we were cleaning up and it was just the two of us. I mean, this is how crazy this was. So many people had been there, and he was like, hey, and then I was like, what? And he's like, look, and he had like a breath mint like on his hand. And then all of a sudden, the breath mint, we were saying on stage, the breath mint just like started flying. That's the only explanation that there is that the breath mint started just flying off his hand and it flew up in the sky and it flew up by his head, above his head, and then it landed in his mouth like a saucer. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like, what the fuck are you doing right now? And he's like, just some new shit not working on. I was like, that's not working on anything. That is some crazy shit.
You got it.
So he'd show me a card trick here or there, right? And I'll never forget that at one point we were playing golf and we were walking to go get a ball. And he reaches in, he's next to me and he reaches into his pocket, and I literally turned to him and I was like, I don't want to see a magic trick, man. And he goes, what? And I was like, you reached into your pockets. He goes, I'm not trying to show you a magic trick. And I had just gotten so used to the idea that he was going to show me some shit all the time that while we were golfing, I just was like, I don't want to see it, man. I just out of nowhere. It was so honest. It was so honest as your friend being like, I don't want to. This isn't the time.
Yeah.
Bro. I'm about to hit a ball. I don't want to
magic
see
trick right now.
bullshit.
Yeah.
And then
All he
Sean's
was
like,
doing
oh,
was
you
just
mean,
checking-
you mean this ball right here?
Yeah.
And you're like, no.
What the fuck?
I love the idea of Sean specializing in magic nobody asked for. Like, I'm doing it to you. I don't consent to this magic.
Man, he was like, I wasn't gonna. I was just getting my phone. I was like, it just weirds me out every time you go in your pockets now. I got one more. I got another question for you, Mark.
Oh, baby, what a cliffhanger. That was part 1 of Mark Sipka. I know you want more. I know you guys want more. I want more. I always want more. Come on, he's the best in the biz. He's so funny, hanging out. We're having such an amazing time. So that was part 1, and check it out. Next week is going to be part 2 of Mark Sipka. So make sure you tune in, listen to it. Thanks for listening to this episode. If you can, hook us up with a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. Tell all your friends. We love you for it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
Another late night comedy show.